Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ledger Onboarding this morning. Thank you everybody for joining us. We are going to see what it looks like to set up a Ledger Nano device. I got with me today a very cool edition of Ledger Nano. This is our black on black Nano. It is still available on OpenSea. You can still go get the token, the NFT for the Ledger black on black Nano and redeem it for one of these limited edition devices. I've had this for a while. I've had it laying around in my office for a while. So today we're going to unbox it for the first time, and you all are gonna do it with me. And we'll go through an entire onboarding in terms of how to set up this device, what it's actually doing, and what it looks like to get your accounts set up in Ledger Live for the first time. So I hope you all are excited. If you have any questions about onboarding Ledger devices in general, getting your accounts set up for the first time, please feel free to add them in the comments here. And we have a mod, I think Tim is here with us, who will be able to help answer some questions as well. So I'll try to stay focused on the onboarding, but I will periodically peek back to the chat, because if anything, if I see anything there that I can insert here into the onboarding process, I'll do so it's as clear as possible. So yeah, you may be here for a couple of reasons. Let's kind of dive into that first. Right? Maybe you're here because you just got Ledger for the first time and you just don't exactly know what to do yet, right? What the heck is this thing? What is it doing for me? And really, why did I buy it? Why do I need it, right? Or maybe you are a more experienced user, you know exactly what it's going to do for you, but you want to just follow along and make sure that you have everything set up correctly and you're good to go. Either way, we're happy to have you. Really, the basis of what this device is doing is it's going to provide you with a 24-word recovery phrase. And you probably have heard that term quite a bit in the crypto space, this 24-word recovery phrase. What exactly is that, right? And you can think of your 24-word recovery phrase as your single backup for all of your accounts in crypto, right? So when you get your 24-word recovery phrase, when you set up this device, that is going to be your backup for your Bitcoin account, for your Ethereum account, for your Solana account, everything. All of those accounts are going to be derived from this one singular recovery phrase that we're going to get here. And we'll talk about how to keep that 24-word recovery phrase safe and out of reach of any other scammers and what have you. So that's really the basis of what we're doing today, is we're going to get that 24-word recovery phrase for the first time. And then we're going to open our native software application called Ledger Live. And Ledger Live is what you can do, or excuse me, is what you can use with this device here to add all of the accounts that are coming from the 24-word recovery phrase that we get into, so you can add all those accounts into the software application and easily view and manage all of your funds on the blockchain. So what you're going to see here today really is two things. It's the Ledger Nano device, which we're going to do first, and then you're going to see something separate. It's our Ledger Live native application that we built to work seamlessly with this Ledger Nano device. So we're going to get into that today. And again, if you're just joining in and you didn't hear before, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them into the chat, and we would be happy to cover them throughout the show. Cool. And let's take a quick look at the comments to see if we have any pressing questions off the bat. Cool. I think that our moderator will be able to handle all of those questions right now. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and open up this device for the first time. I'm super excited. It's the black on black version. So let's get this cracked open and get it set up. All right. So here we go. Here is our limited edition black on black Nano. Let's go ahead and get this thing unwrapped. Shrink wrap is always a bit tough. There we go. Cool, here we go. Here it is. Black on black Ledger Nano. Super excited for this. So it's going to pop out of this sleeve here. Then I'll show you up here. And there it is. Wow, check that out. Beautiful device. Really, really cool. You can go on to OpenSea. If the moderator, if Tim, if you'd like to throw the OpenSea link in the chat, that'd be super cool. Folks can check out how to get this NFT and be able to redeem this really cool device. Look at that. That is a beautiful, beautiful Ledger Nano. Some are still available for redemption on OpenSea and Rarible. So Tim, if you wouldn't mind sharing that, that would be awesome. You can get one of these get one of these ordered today. Let's check this thing out. So in the contents of this packaging, we're going to have the Ledger Nano device. Look at that. That is so cool. So we're going to have the device, and then under here, might be easier to show you up here. Under here, we're going to have some other stuff as well. This is the really important stuff that we need to take stock of. So we have some pamphlets here that I'll show you, and then we're going to have our cable. So this is our cable that we're going to use to connect the Ledger Nano device to our computer. And this device is the Ledger Nano X. So this device has Bluetooth capability, and it has a USB-C port. So you can use this device with a desktop computer, whether it's a Mac or a PC, and you can use it on operating systems that, of course, Windows or Mac OS, and you can also use it on Ubuntu, Linux Ubuntu. So this device you can also use with an Android phone or with iOS, but only on iOS if you're using Bluetooth. So you can't do a wired connection to iPhones. So if you have the Ledger Nano X and an iPhone, you can use it with Bluetooth. Cool, but today we're going to do a wired connection to our computer. All right, so let's set the device aside here for just a second. Let's set this to the side and let's look at what we got going on here. So we'll get to this a little bit in a minute, but I just want to point out ledger.com/start. This is where we're going to download that application that I mentioned earlier called Ledger Live. It's our native application. So this is the official website link to go and get that official download. Here is another pamphlet included in the packaging, and it is a secret recovery phrase sheet. So this is really the most important thing in the entire packaging of the Ledger Nano. So the Ledger Nano isn't even as important as this stuff right here. So that's why we're going to set the Nano aside for a second and just focus on this stuff. So we have this little pamphlet in here that's going to give you a bit of an understanding about what the recovery phrase is and how to keep it safe. So if you're getting your Ledger device for the first time, please take the time to thoroughly read through this and understand it. Since we're going to talk about all of this stuff here today on the onboarding, we'll go ahead and set this aside. And here is the recovery sheet that we're actually going to write the 24 words on that the device will give us. And this is where you will keep the 24 words written on paper. So let's take a pause there for a second and kind of take stock of what we just looked at. So we have our Ledger Nano device. We have a sheet to put the 24-word recovery phrase on. We obviously had our cable here. And then we had some information about getting started with Ledger Live, where the Ledger Live application is, along with a pamphlet about how to keep your 24-word recovery phrase safe. It's important to know that there is a lot, or not a lot, there are some occurrences that we've seen where folks buy a Ledger Nano, maybe from some unauthorized reseller, or maybe they bought it on some third-party website or some in-person marketplace. And they noticed that in the contents of the packaging in the box, they had this recovery phrase that the sheet, excuse me, that already had a recovery phrase printed on it. If you ever are in that situation, walk away. That is a major red flag that you do not have a genuine product, right? Ledger will never provide you with a Ledger Nano product that already has a 24-word recovery phrase printed on a sheet of paper in the packaging. Also, we will never provide you with a PIN code printed on a sheet of paper either. That means that somebody had already set up the 24-word recovery phrase on the device, and they just provided you the PIN code on how to get into the device and use that 24-word recovery phrase. That would mean that somebody already has access to the 24 words, meaning they would have access to any of the funds that you secure with those 24 words. So those are your first two red flags to look out for when unboxing your Ledger Nano device. So of course, we don't have that today because we have a genuine Ledger product, but it's just something to keep in mind in the future when you do make your purchase. All right, so let's put those other things aside for a little bit, and let's now focus on the Ledger Nano device. Cool, so I just need to grab my cable here and plug my device into a power source. So this cable here is plugged into my desktop computer. So when I plug in power to the device, it's going to power on for me. Cool. So what you see right here is obviously a welcome screen, and it's going to be a bit of a tutorial on how to use the device. So I'm going to pretty much walk through this tutorial with you, but if you don't remember everything that was said here, which probably won't, I wouldn't either, everything that I say here is going to be given to you when you set up your Ledger Nano device. So cool. So the first thing you're going to notice is it's going to tell you how to navigate this device. And believe it or not, it can be a little tricky for some folks, exactly how to navigate through the system that the device is, right? And if you think of the organization of the device as like a file and folder system, it's a little bit easier to wrap your mind around exactly how to navigate the device. So we'll kind of dive into that a little bit more once we get into the device. But to navigate through the device, you're going to be utilizing these two buttons here. There's a left button and a right button, and you move left and right just by clicking left and right. Anytime you want to select something, you're going to push both buttons down simultaneously, and it's just a quick click when you want to select something. Simultaneously click both buttons down at the same time. It's not a long press. You're not holding the buttons down to select something. You're just clicking quickly. So here's where it's also going to show you where to download Ledger Live. We'll get to that in just a little bit. So I'm going to click to the right to keep going. And it's going to tell you exactly what I just told you, how to navigate through the device and how to select something by clicking both buttons. And then this is what happens when you hold both buttons down, both buttons down at the same time, excuse me. When you hold both buttons down, it's going to take you to the command center where you can find information about your device and some settings that you can adjust as well if you need to. So I'm going to click to the right to keep navigating. And it's going to say Start Ledger Live for help during setup. So you can do that. When you install Ledger Live, there is the option to have Ledger Live take you through a tutorial. But since I'm here taking you through that tutorial, we're going to go ahead and skip that so we can just keep on going. So now we have a couple of options here. If you're using Ledger for the first time and you don't have a 24-word recovery phrase generated by a hardware wallet, a hardware device, then the option you're going to choose is set up this new device. This option is going to give you a brand new 24-word recovery phrase that has never been seen before, never been used before, and that will derive all of your secure accounts on the blockchain. If you click to the right, you'll see another option. This is restore from recovery phrase. If you've never used a Ledger hardware wallet before, you can completely disregard what I'm saying right now. But if there are some folks in here who do have a 24-word recovery phrase from a previous device or what have you, you can actually restore a brand new Nano with a previous 24-word recovery phrase and gain access to all of those accounts that derive from that 24-word recovery phrase. But right now, we're going to go back. I went back by clicking the left button, and we're going to set up this new device here. So to select this, as mentioned, I'm going to click both buttons simultaneously, and it's going to have me choose a PIN code. So this is a 4 to 8 digit PIN. Obviously, 8 is more secure, but you can do up to 4. And the PIN is local to the device. So the PIN has nothing to do with your recovery phrase. Your recovery phrase is on the blockchain and could care less about whatever PIN code that you set up for the device. This is a PIN code similar to like your phone's PIN code. You have a PIN code on your phone to unlock your phone and get into it, but your mobile banking app doesn't care what your phone's PIN code is, right? It doesn't matter. It's not really related to your banking account. Similar here. This isn't related to your recovery phrase or your crypto accounts. This is just a local PIN to actually get into the device. Before we set up the PIN, I'm going to take a quick peek at the comments here. Jacob Boyle, thanks for the feedback. We love that. Glad you enjoy it. All right, and we have KTube asking about a passphrase. It's a little bit advanced for this basic onboarding that we're doing today, but maybe the mod can help point you in the right direction. And we do host AMAs on Wednesdays that may be a better place to dive into the passphrase topic. Passphrase is a little bit more advanced than this basic onboarding. All right, so let's get here to this PIN code. So for this demonstration purpose, I'm going to choose a 4-digit PIN, but it's recommended, to use maybe a little bit higher of an amount of digits. You could use 6 or 8 or what have you. But the power of the PIN code comes from the fact that you only have 3 attempts to enter the PIN code in correctly. So if you enter the PIN code incorrectly more than 3 times, the device is going to wipe itself and you'll have to restore it with the 24-word recovery phrase that we're going to get here in a moment. So that's really where the security of this physical hardware comes from, is the fact that nobody knows your PIN code, and if they try to hack into your device by guessing your PIN code, they're only going to get 3 attempts to guess a 8-digit PIN, and the odds of that happening are seemingly impossible. So it also proves the point that you want it to be a pretty a pretty, not random, but a complex pin, right? You wouldn't want to use something like 000 or 1111, something that people are going to guess probably on their first attempt. Choose something that you can memorize. Maybe it's related to you somehow personally, but that nobody else would really know, so that you always remember it, but nobody really has a chance at guessing what that would be. All right, so let's go ahead and select both buttons. That's what I just did. I clicked both buttons at the same time to advance to the next screen. So here's where I'm going to choose my pin. And for demonstration purposes today, I am going to do 1111 just so we can get in and out quickly, but you should not do this on your own for your own personal pin code. After we're done with this onboarding, I'm actually going to wipe this device and do something completely different. So I'm going to set just 1111 for demonstration purposes, but again, do not do this yourself. All right. So what I did there is I put in my PIN code, and then it asked me to confirm my PIN code. So it wants to make sure that I know what I just entered. So once we confirm, you'll see this check mark that you to select to confirm the PIN code. Well, let's back up there a little bit because I realized I just blew through that. Let me back up here a little bit and show you exactly what we're doing here. So to navigate the number system here, you'll see that the number is rolling. When I click to the right, it's rolling up, and when I click to the left, it's rolling down. So I find, by clicking left and right, I find the number I want, and then when I find it, I select both buttons simultaneously at the same time to select that number. And this device specifically is on a little bit older of firmware. When we update the firmware for this device, it'll actually be a different PIN code entering system. So it'll be more horizontal, where you have a string of 0 to 9 to navigate back and forth from to select your numbers. It's actually a little bit more intuitive, and you'll see that here in a little bit. But if you recently purchased a device, you'll probably be on this firmware here, so this is what you'll see. So I'll select the 1 again. I'm going to go to the left to find 1, click both times to select, just like that. So now that I have my 4 ones, I'm going to select the check mark, because the check mark is my confirmation command, and I'll click both buttons to confirm it. All right. So right now we are at the stage where we're actually going to get this 24-word recovery phrase that we've been talking about. So this is the exciting part. So first things first, I need to find a pen. I didn't bring a pen in here. Oh. See if I have one. I got one right here. So for this step, you're just going to need a pen, and you will need the recovery phrase sheet that came in the contents of your ledger. See if I can get these both in the same shot. Cool. And my pen, of course. All right. So what's going to happen now is the device is going to provide you a 24-word recovery phrase, like I've already said a bunch of times. But it's important to know that the device itself doesn't host this recovery phrase that it's going to give you. It's not like this device has a bank of 24-word recovery phrases and it's just providing you one of them. It's not like that at all. You can think of this device as more of a random number generator. It's simply a random number generator. But instead of a random number as its output, it is outputting a random 24-word recovery phrase. So that 24-word recovery phrase, to generate one of those, you actually run a function that is outlined in something called the BIP39 standard. Definitely worth Googling and getting familiar with if you have some extra time, but not really necessary for this initial setup. But to put simply, it is simply generating you a random recovery phrase that is derived from running a certain function that function being the function to derive those recovery phrases. So nothing is coming locally from the device itself. It is simply just running a function and giving you that random output that is your 24-word recovery phrase. So you could run this function an infinite amount of times with this one device, and you can get an infinite amount of recovery phrases. But you only need one, and you really should only use one because you need to keep track of it. All right, so the device is telling us to write down our recovery phrase. I'm going to select both buttons to advance to the next screen. And it's going to tell you what I just told you. It's going to give you a 24-word recovery phrase, and these are your 24 words that are the backup to all of your accounts on the blockchain. So it's saying to write it down in the correct order. That's really important to remember. You'll notice on your recovery phrase sheet that the lines are numbered because each word belongs to a specific order within your list of 24 words. So your 24 words, when we see these, they have to be in the right order to be your valid recovery phrase. So we'll go on here and then press both buttons to continue. So when I do so, it's going to give me my first word. And again, I'll preface this by saying you should never broadcast your 24 words to anyone, anywhere online. This is simply for demonstration purposes. I'm not ever going to use this 24-word recovery phrase that you're going to see today. This is just for a setup demonstration. So my first word is near. Flatten out my card here a little bit so it's easy. So my first word is near, and I'm going to write that down in the first slot. Okay, first word, near. And I'm going to do this for all of my other words. To advance to the next word, I'm going to click write. My second word is render. And you want to make sure, look, see, you want to make sure that you're writing legibly. I just made a mistake here, and this is supposed to be an E for render. But man, that doesn't really look like an E. So if I come back 2 years later and I need my recovery phrase, there's a good chance I might be misreading this word. So it's really important that when you write down your recovery phrase, you write it down as legibly as you possibly can. So I'm going to kind of fix this a little bit and make sure that I know for a fact that is an E. Render. And sorry I don't have the best handwriting. I'll try to write as good as I can today. All right, I'm going to click to the right to get my third word, which is coyote. And I'm just going to do this for all 24 words. Number 4 is define. Kangaroo. I've never gotten this one before. That's cool. Kangaroo. So you'll notice that I'm writing these down all in the right order, 1 through 24, in the exact order that the device is giving it to me. If I were to write these down the other way, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then try to restore my recovery phrase in that wrong order, it's not going to work. That's going to be a completely different recovery phrase, or it could not even be a valid recovery phrase. So certain words have to be in the right order for it to be a valid recovery phrase. So it's very important that you're writing your words down in the right order and that you remember that order. You know exactly what that order is, and you can do that simply by making sure that you're very vigilant about following the numbered lines here to write down your recovery phrase. All right, so we're on number 9. Try to breeze through here pretty quick. Need image fire me. Seven. Almost done here, guys. Paddle. And you're probably wondering, like, where the heck are these words coming from? Are these just random words? And the answer is no, these are not random words. Each word that you're seeing here comes from a list of 2,048 words. And that is called the BIP39 word list. You might recognize the term BIP39 as I spoke to earlier. BIP39 being the standard that derives the recovery phrases that we're here. And it is also the standard where all of these words come from. So there's actually a list. You can find it online if you just Google BIP39 word list. There'll be many websites, including a GitHub, that has this single list of 2,048 words. So all of these words come from that word list. And the amount of different combinations you can have of, a string of 24 words from this 2,048 word list, the number of different string of 24 words you could have from that combination is seemingly infinite. It is a number so large that we can't even wrap our heads around that. So that's where these words come from. Cool. So now that I have my words written down, when I advance on this device here, it's actually going to quiz me. It's going to say, hey, okay, we just gave you these 24 words. Now I'm going to make sure that you know it, right? That you wrote it down correctly. So first it's asking me, hey, make sure you go through and verify that you wrote them all down in the correct order and just cross-reference from what you've written down. And when you advance, when I get to the end here, I'm going to select both buttons to advance. And now it's going to quiz me. It's going to say, hey, confirm exactly what I just gave you. So I'll click both buttons again to advance. And so how this works is confirm word number 1. So how this works is it's going to give me a few options of words to choose from, and I just need to click through and select the right word that is my word number 1. So my word number 1 is near. That's what I wrote down. So I'm just going to cycle through this short list until I find near. There it is there. So it's giving me a few words to choose from, but it wants me to select the right word out of that list of choices. So my second word is render, and boom, right there, there's render. So sometimes you get lucky and it's the first word that pops up. My third word is coyote. So I'll need to click through until I see coyote, which is select both buttons to select it. Kangaroo, that is not my fourth word. My fourth word is define. My second option is define. To select define, I'll click both buttons at the same time. Number 5 is deny. I got lucky again, so I'll select that. Number 6 is sense. All right, so I'm just going to go through here and breeze through here as quickly as I can because I'm sure you all got the gist of how this works. Number 9 is region. 11 is image. 12 is inquiry. 13 is diary. 14 picnic. And also, too, it's important to know we do have customers who reach out and they say, hey, I'm restoring my device or I'm getting my recovery phrase and I'm on word 12. And the device isn't giving me word 12, right? I have banner written down, but the device isn't giving me banner as an option. Well, the truth is, then you wrote down the wrong word for that position in the recovery phrase, right? If you think your word is diary, but the diary for slot 12, but the device isn't giving you diary as an option for word number 12, then you wrote down the wrong thing. In those cases, it's best just to start over, get a brand new recovery phrase, get rid of the one that you just generated and just start over fresh and make sure that you are very vigilant about writing the words down in the correct order. All right, so number 17 is 7. Number 18 is paddle. 19 is flyer. 20 is banner. Enable. See, I don't even like how I wrote down enable. See, I wrote that down a little bit goofy. That could trip you up in 2 years' time when you try to come back this recovery phrase, and you might not be able to make sense of what that word is. So make sure that you're writing very legibly. 22 is mystery. H. My last word, motion. Cool. So since I'm able to advance here, that means that I successfully completed the quiz. I entered it in correctly, and we're good to go. If you didn't enter it in, if you did not enter it in correctly, then the device would tell you. It would say, hey, doesn't match, retry, start over. In that situation, maybe you just clicked the wrong, you selected the wrong word, maybe go through a second time and try to get it. If you keep getting it in, if you keep guessing it incorrectly, or excuse me, not guessing, if you keep entering it in incorrectly, then it's best just to start over with a fresh recovery phrase and just make sure you're writing it down correctly. I'm only putting so much emphasis on this today because like this is one of our number one questions is customers come to us frustrated because their recovery phrase isn't working. And the fact of the matter is it was written down incorrectly and it's being entered in incorrectly. All right. So it's going to say, hey, keep this thing safe and in a secure place. It's not referring to the device. It's not saying keep your device safe and secure, which you should. You should definitely keep your hardware wallet safe and secure. What it's referring to is this. Keep this card safe and secure. Now that we have our 24-word recovery phrase, this is the most important thing that we are talking about today, right? You can get a new device anytime that you want and restore it with these words here. So this is what is important, these 24 words. So let's go ahead and continue through this little introduction. And it's going to tell you if you lose these 24 words, then your funds that are associated to them are lost. If you don't have these 24 words, nobody can help you recover those words, not even Ledger. As I mentioned, how this device is pretty much a random number generator, meaning we don't have access to the 24 words that you got, right? Those aren't Ledger 24-word recovery phrases. They're just recovery phrases, and the device generated it for you in an off. That's the security here, is it gave you those 24 words in an offline device. This device has never touched the internet. So it's really important that that you keep this card safe and you know where it's at because you are the only one who has access to words. Obviously, never share it with anybody, and Ledger will never ask you for it. If you are online on Twitter or on Reddit or what have you, and somebody is asking for your 24 words, claiming that they may be able to help you with whatever problem that you're having, that is a scammer. Nobody needs your 24-word recovery phrase to help you with anything. You are the only one that should have access to it. There is no website or no application that you will need to enter your 24-word recovery phrases into typically. So if you are on a website, even something that looks like Ledger branded, like a Ledger branded website, and it's asking you to enter your 24 words on your computer, turn away. You are in a situation that you don't want to be in. 24 words should only ever be entered in on this physical nano device and on the recovery phrase sheet, nothing else. We do have some options that way you can put these numbers into like a metal plate. You can look for those on shop.ledger.com if you want to make this a little bit more permanent, but it should only be physically written down and stored on the nano. All right, I'll get off my soapbox and we'll get back into this. So I'm going to press both buttons to continue now that I'm set up with my 24-word recovery phrase, and it's just going to take a quick second to process that. What's happening here is the device is now locking those 24 words into our secure element chip, which is the bread and butter of the Ledger device. That secure element chip is a chip that stores your recovery phrase and signs transactions for you, and that chip has zero connection to any sort of internet network or connection, which is why it is so secure, because nothing can get into that secure element. Now you see that your device is ready, so you can click to the right, and it's going to say go to dashboard. So we'll click both buttons to go to the dashboard. So now I'm here on the dashboard. I just see install app and I see command center. There's not really much that I can do right now. So the device is set up. We're good to go. It has the 24 words that are so precious to us. So now we can focus our attention over to Ledger Live. So Ledger Live is going to help us manage our accounts that derive from the 24-word recovery phrase that we just generated and wrote down. So remember, whether it's a Bitcoin account, an Ethereum account, a Solana account, all those accounts are going to be recoverable with the 24-word, with the singular 24-word recovery phrase. So to install Ledger Live, which is our next step here, is we're going to install this software that helps us manage these funds. You can go to ledger.com/start. Be really mindful of the domain when you are looking for things related to Ledger. Everything is going to be ledger.com specifically. It's not going to be ledger.start.net.com. It'll always be specifically .com, ledger.com. So if you punch that into any browser, ledger.com/start, you will be directed to our Ledger Live page where you can install Ledger Live. And you'll notice on that page, I'm not going to pull it up here because I don't have it set up, but you'll notice on that page, you'll have options to install it on mobile phones or on whatever operating system that you're running, whether it is iOS, or excuse me, Mac OS, Windows, or Linux Ubuntu. Cool. So let's see what Ledger Live looks like. When I install Ledger Live and I open it for the first time, it's going to show you this. This is exactly what it's going to look like for you. So you have the option, if you haven't bought a Ledger device yet, you can use this link right here and it will take you to our shop online where you can purchase a Ledger device. We're not going to do that today because we already have one. So we're going to go ahead and click Get Started. And we're going to choose what device that we have. Today I have, as we know, the Ledger Nano X. Even though it is our black on black edition, the device itself is a Nano X. Nano X is what comes with Bluetooth capability. So I'll select that. So I referred to this a little bit earlier. I mentioned that Ledger Live does take you through a tutorial. So if you're not walking through this with me this morning, and maybe you want to do it on your own some other time, maybe you don't remember everything that was said here, you can actually go through a tutorial with Ledger Live using this option here. But since we already have a recovery phrase, right? We already set up the device with that 24-word recovery phrase. All we need to do now is connect our Nano to Ledger Live, the application. So I'm going to click this option. All right, this is another really important step when using Ledger Live for the first time. So remember how I mentioned that no genuine Ledger device is going to come with a 24-word recovery phrase already printed on a sheet of paper, nor will it come with a PIN code for you to use. Those are the first things to look out for. Another thing to look out for is genuine Ledger Live firmware. And we're actually we're kind of switching up the term. It's an operating system, so it's our operating system rather than firmware. So genuine, we're looking. This is going to scan your operating system to make sure that it is genuine Ledger Nano operating system. So if you're ever in a situation where you purchase from a reseller, it looks genuine. It didn't come with a recovery phrase. It didn't come with a PIN code, but you're still a little worried about, like, what if something inside is tampered with? This is how you know for certain, without a doubt, that nothing has been tampered with, and that it is indeed a genuine Ledger device, is with this genuine check. So down here, I'm going to click. Oh, you can't see it because my little me right here is in the way. But right behind me, it says check my Nano. So you'll just go ahead and select that to move forward. Cool. And right now, I'm going to get a request on my Nano device. You'll see here, it says allow Ledger Manager. So the device is saying, hey, something wants to connect with you, something called Ledger Live. Do you want to give it access? And this is how you select yes. So keep in mind, your Ledger Nano really doesn't know what Ledger Live is. It doesn't care about Ledger Live. It just knows that this application is requesting some information from it. So you're going to say, yes, allow Ledger Manager. We'll go back to Ledger Live here. Cool. And now you see that I passed the genuine check. The Ledger Live scans the operating system there and says, hey, everything is all up to snuff. We are good to go. So behind me again here is a continue button. So go ahead and click continue. Cool. And look at this. Now we are inside Ledger Live. So this is where all the fun stuff happens. So inside Ledger Live is where we are going to be able to manage our accounts. We're going to be able to install apps, which are really important. I'll show you what that looks like. And we also have quite a few partners within Ledger Live. You can kind of think of this as like a storefront, right? We have a lot of different applications that you can use directly within Ledger Live. So there's a lot of really fun stuff here to look into. We're not going to dive into that right now. We're going to stay with the basic onboarding, but just know there's a lot of crypto things that you can use directly through Ledger Live, and these are all individual partners that we partner with. But let's not look at that today. Let's go back up here to the portfolio tab. And I'm going to take a drink of water and check the chat. All right, so Mighty Tone asks, is there a way on the ledger to see all your accounts on the blockchain at once? Like if you go to an Ethereum account and you see all tokens beneath it? And yeah, we'll dive into a little bit more, but really just to address your question, when you add an Ethereum account in Ledger Live hosts like thousands of different ERC20 tokens. So whatever tokens that you have associated to your Ethereum account, when you add it to Ledger Live will pull in all of those tokens on the blockchain. The only time that you won't see a token automatically pulled in is if Ledger Live simply doesn't support that token yet, which is totally fine. In that case, if you have an ERC20 token that Ledger Live doesn't support, you can connect your Nano to MetaMask, add the custom token to MetaMask so that you can view that token in MetaMask. So Ledger Live supports almost all tokens, but there still are a few like smaller unknown tokens that Ledger Live doesn't support yet. And if your token is one of those, you can reach out to us and we'd be happy to put in a submission request to add that token to Ledger Live so that you can see it in Ledger Live. But for anybody who's just getting set up for the first time, please disregard all of that. That's just a little bit advanced to what we're talking about here. So let's focus on getting our first account added in Ledger Live. So we're going to add a couple of accounts today. We're going to add an Ethereum account, and then we are going to add a Bitcoin account. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click Add Account to add our very first account. And here you're going to see Choose Crypto Asset. Here's where I can search for the asset that I currently own. So let's take a step back here. Say, for example, you use Binance and you have Bitcoin purchased in Binance and it's sitting in your Binance account. Well, if you want to secure that Bitcoin with Ledger, we need to first add our Ledger associated Bitcoin account first. So I'm going to select Bitcoin here. I'm going to continue. And what's going to happen now is it's actually going to install what's called a Bitcoin application on the Ledger Nano device. So the device needs here I'll show you what that looks like too in the Nano shot. You'll see that something is being installed into my device. What is that? Well, it's the Bitcoin account. In Ledger Live, you can see the installation is almost complete. Cool. So then now you'll see on your device, it says Open Bitcoin app. So I'll go ahead and open the Bitcoin app. And then back in Ledger Live, you'll see that it's starting to pull in my Bitcoin account. So once it does here, once I add this Bitcoin account into Ledger Live, I'll kind of unpack this a little bit so we understand what just happened. All right. So if you're a little bit newer to the space and you're not quite familiar with Bitcoin account types, it might be one of the first odd things that you run into that you're not really sure about. So Bitcoin has a couple different, a few different account types. There's native SegWit, which is what we have here by default. But then there's also just SegWit, there's Taproot, and there's Legacy. So pretty much everybody is using native SegWit right now. So if you're using Ledger for the first time, if you're using Bitcoin for the first time, if you're a little bit newer to the space, just disregard all the other account types for the most part and just stick with native SegWit. It's the most commonly adopted right now. So I have my native SegWit account for Bitcoin. And right here, I can change the name of this account. So the name here is just native to Ledger Live. You're not changing anything on the blockchain, right? This account is coming from the blockchain. So I can actually just change this to whatever else I want. Maybe I want it to say my Bitcoin. I can change that right now. Cool. And then we'll click this box here to select that I'm adding this account, and I'm going to add account. Perfect. So now if I navigate over here to the accounts tab, since we just added an account, I will see my Bitcoin account right here. So let's take a step back. What did we just do? Well, the first thing that we did was when we went to add a Bitcoin account in Ledger Live, I'll go ahead and close this. Ledger Live knew that I needed to put a Bitcoin app on my Nano to be able to derive that account. So what is an app? Well, these little apps, you see Bitcoin right here now on my Nano, these little apps are pretty much like an instruction manual for your Nano device. Your Nano has no idea out of the box what Bitcoin is, what a Bitcoin transaction looks like, or really anything about Bitcoin. All it knows out of the box is how to generate a 24-word recovery phrase. So you install this app to teach the Nano device what Bitcoin is, what a Bitcoin transaction hash looks like, how to derive a Bitcoin account, all that good stuff. So this is your little instruction manual. You can add and remove these these apps as you please. The app has nothing to do with your accounts on the blockchain. It's simply a little instruction manual for the physical device. Cool, so now I have my Bitcoin account. Now let's go ahead and add an Ethereum account. And since we recently just talked about apps, I was just talking to you about the apps, let's actually add an app another way. So if you go to the My Ledger tab down here, over here. So if you navigate to the My Ledger tab right here, we can actually install apps manually first before we add our account. So this is just another way of doing what we just did. So you see every network is going to have its own app that the device needs installed on it to know what that network is and how to make accounts for it. So for example, now I want to add my Ethereum account. So I could just go over here first and install my Ethereum app. And you'll see on the device, it's going to do the same thing that Bitcoin did. It's going to install my Ethereum app. So now essentially what I'm doing is I'm installing an instruction manual on the device to say, hey, this is what Ethereum is. This is how you get an account from Ethereum. This is how you sign an Ethereum transaction, all that good stuff. I'm giving it instructions on how to interact with the Ethereum network. Cool, so now, if you look at my Nano again, now you'll see that I have Ethereum and I have Bitcoin. I have two apps on this device. This device can hold upwards of 100 different apps. So there's a lot of room on this device. You can install apps for almost every network that you're probably going to be using, whether it's Solana, whether it's Avalanche, whether it's Cardano. All of those networks are going to have their own native app. Cool. So now in Ledger Live, I can go ahead and go back up here to the Accounts tab and see my Bitcoin account, and I can go ahead and add my Ethereum account now. Now I want to add Ethereum. I already installed the app, so it's not going to have to do that. All it's going to do is ask me to verify on the device to open the Ethereum app. Anytime that you're doing something with either of these networks, you need the app open on the device. So now you see application is ready, and my app is being added. Or excuse me, my account is being added. It does take a little bit to synchronize, as you see here. It does take a little bit to synchronize because Ledger Live is actually pulling in all of this information from the blockchain. So it was saying, hey, so what happened is Ledger Live was saying, hey, Ledger Nano device, give me an Ethereum address, an Ethereum public address that's related to the 24-word recovery phrase stored in the secure element. So Ledger Live doesn't even have access to your 24-word recovery phrase at all. It doesn't have access to any of that sensitive information. All it has access to is it can request that the device gives you the public address associated to that account so that it can display your account information. But along with a public address, there's a private key for the account too. And the private key is how you sign transactions. And that's what the Ledger device is really securing, is the private key also associated to that account. So all Ledger Live is getting here is just the public address for the Ethereum account, for example. So again here, maybe I want to rename this my Ethereum. Name it whatever I want. And add account. Cool. So now we're getting pretty close to being done set up. If you have other accounts, if you have other cryptos that you own on your exchange or maybe other wallets right now, you would just continue to add accounts and add whatever other cryptos that you own. Maybe you own XRP, maybe you own Cardano, maybe you own some Matic and some Dogecoin. You just go through this process again and add all of those accounts into Ledger Live. No need to do all of that here. I think we all kind of get the gist of what's going on here. We have a couple of accounts added here. So now the question is, well, I have money on Binance. I have crypto on Binance. I have crypto on Coinbase. Maybe I'm using a different DeFi wallet that I have some coins in. How do I get those over to Ledger? Like, I want to secure those with Ledger. Well, here's how you do it. So for example, say you have some Bitcoin sitting on Binance and you want to secure that with Ledger. First thing you're going to do is click on your Bitcoin account and you're going to click receive. Go ahead and click continue. And you'll notice the app or the app is asking that we open the Bitcoin app again on the Nano. So we'll open the Bitcoin app. And now Ledger Live can give me my public key, or excuse me, my public address for this Bitcoin account. Cool. So now I have this string of numbers and letters. This is a public address this is one of my public addresses for my Bitcoin account. So you'll notice that I can review the letters and numbers here, but it's also really important that you review the letters and numbers that the device is displaying you. The device is going to display you the same exact public address. So you want to cross-reference what you see here, word for word, number for number, for what you see in Ledger Live. You never want to copy this address here for any account without first verifying it on the Ledger Nano as well, because your Ledger Nano is your source of truth. You never know what a software could be displaying to you. Who knows if you have a malware on your computer and you're using some wallet to get your address and it's giving you some address, but you might notice it's not the same as the one on your Ledger. That's a red flag. Your Ledger Nano device is the trusted display for your receive address. Cool. So now that I've verified word for word, letter for letter that, yep, this is my Bitcoin address, I can go ahead and click this little copy icon here. And then now I would go over to Binance, for example, where I have some Bitcoin. And I'm going to go through a withdrawal from Binance. There's going to be a little button for you to withdraw your crypto. You would select withdraw. You would select your Bitcoin that you want to withdraw, select the amount that you want to withdraw from. And there's going to be a field that says to, like, where are you sending this Bitcoin to? And that's where you're going to paste this address into. You're going to say, hey, send my Bitcoin that's sitting here on Binance to this address, because this is the address that was derived from your 24-word recovery phrase for Bitcoin that you just generated with your Nano. After you complete that transaction, it'll take a couple of minutes for the Bitcoin network to settle that transaction. And when it does, then I just rejected that so I can close out of here. Then once that transaction settles, your Bitcoin balance will be reflected with that transaction. So you'll be able to see now you have Bitcoin in your Ledger secured Bitcoin account. And you'll do the same for Ethereum, right? You'll go to Ethereum, receive Ethereum. This little warning is saying, hey, only use the Ethereum network to send Ethereum tokens. So that could be something for an advanced onboarding, but for simple purposes, let's just keep Ethereum, ETH in mind. So say you have some ETH sitting on Binance. I'll just go ahead and hit continue. I'm going to open the Ethereum app on my device. I will see that Ledger Live is getting my address. So here's my Ethereum address. And I'm going to take a pause and verify that the address matches on my Nano. And when I know that it matches word for word, then I can be certain to copy this address, go over to Binance, say, Binance, I want to withdraw my Ethereum, send it to this address, complete that transaction, and it will show up here in Ledger Live for you to manage. And you can do that for all of your other cryptos. Say you have 10 other cryptos in Binance or Coinbase or what have you. You would just do this same process over and over again after you've added your accounts in Ledger Live. You add your accounts in Ledger Live, get your address for that account, and withdraw it to that address from whatever exchange that you're on. All right. I'm going to reject just to be able to close out of this. All right. So there are some other features within Ledger Live that we can go over as well. But that is really the basics of getting set up with Ledger. So we have our 24-word recovery phrase. We've connected to, or we went through the genuine check to get connected to Ledger Live. So we know for certain that we're using genuine Ledger operating system on our Nano. We got connected to Ledger Live successfully. We've added a couple of accounts. We installed some apps on our Nano. We're really ready to go. That's the basics. You're ready to start exploring the blockchain securely with Ledger at this point. So There are a couple other things that you can do within Ledger Live too. Ledger Live is a really flexible tool. It's important to remember that Ledger Live isn't designed to be an exchange. So you're not really here to do a bunch of buying and selling and trading like you would on an exchange. This is more of a asset management tool. It's not really here to operate like Binance or Coinbase would. So it's really just to manage the assets that you own rather than do a bunch of trading. But we do have some really slick stuff in Ledger Live that you can use to purchase crypto, to sell crypto, to stake crypto. You can do a lot of stuff within Ledger Live, and that is with this Discover tab that I hinted at a little bit earlier. So if you're somebody who wants to stake ETH, you want to become your own validator with ETH, we have cool tools like Kiln that you can use directly through Ledger Live. There's other tools to manage your crypto as well, like Zerion that you can check out through Ledger Live. You can actually buy crypto from Binance directly through Ledger Live using this tool here, which is really cool, and the fees are really competitive. There's also some other stuff in here you can use. There's more than just one third-party service in Ledger Live that you can buy crypto from. So each one of these individual tiles is an individual third-party provider, right? This is a different company that we're just partnered with, and you can use them through Ledger Live. CoinLedger is great for taxes. We have stuff like Paraswap. Paraswap is great to do DeFi swaps on Ethereum. We also have 1inch, which is another great tool to do DeFi swaps on Ethereum. MoonPay is a great tool to use to purchase crypto, to onboard crypto using your debit card. You can purchase crypto with your debit card and send it directly to your Ledger account. That's really cool. And if you don't have enough ETH to become a validator, you can use Lido to stake ETH and get their liquid staking token in return. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here to explore. Definitely go check it out once you get set up and see what might work good for you. And you can use this buy sell tab over here as well to purchase crypto and sell crypto. So you can buy, for example, the provider right here is Coinify, but the provider in this tab will depend on your region or location because this is a third-party service. So it's just going to depend what service provider operates within your region. So for me in the United States, it looks like Coinify is that service provider for me. But you'll notice you can't just buy anything here, right? This isn't an exchange. You can't just buy whatever crypto that's out there. These service providers typically have a very fixed set of cryptos that you can buy directly through Ledger Live. So you're not going to be able to buy everything that you, or anything that you want here. It'll be a pretty selective list. So if whatever if you want something that's not listed here, you'll have to buy it on an exchange and then send it to your Ledger account like we just showed earlier. Cool. And then once you have a bunch of crypto in here, you're ready to go. You're ready to manage your assets. You can keep track of the market directly through Ledger Live right here in this market tab. This is pulling in information directly from third-party price aggregators so that directly within Ledger Live, you can even keep track of what's going on in the market. And of course, once you have all of your cryptos added to your accounts, you'll be able to manage the performance of your portfolio directly in here within the portfolio tab. All right. I think that wraps things up here. I'll go ahead and check the chat. Thank you all for joining. I hope that was helpful. I hope some folks here walk away with some more knowledge on how to onboard your Ledger device, or maybe you followed along with me. That's cool too. Hopefully you followed along with me and were able to get successfully set up and have a little bit more confidence in navigating the crypto space using Ledger. So thanks again. Let's go ahead and check the chat. I'm a little bit over time here, but let's see if there's any pressing questions that the mods haven't picked up, and I would be happy to address. Cool. Yeah, it looks like our moderator picked up a question from I don't really know how to say their name, but this person asked, what if Ledger closes shop tomorrow? In other words, what if Ledger goes out of business? And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Earlier, when we were setting up the Ledger device, I was saying that, hey, the most important thing is this 24-word recovery phrase, right? So your Ledger device doesn't even really matter at this point. Well, it does because it makes it easy to manage your funds with a Ledger Nano device. But in reality, your 24-word recovery phrase really is the only thing that matters. So you can take this recovery phrase to a variety of other hardware wallets, software wallets, and restore access to your accounts. Like you would never really want to do this because the security comes from the fact that your recovery phrase has only been stored on a card and on this Ledger Nano device. But if Ledger were to disappear out of thin air one day, all of your accounts are on the blockchain and accessible with this 24-word recovery phrase. So you are never in a position where you are dependent on the success of Ledger to have access to your funds. That's the beauty of self-custody. Self-custody means you're not reliant on Ledger. What Ledger here is being very convenient to you. They're helping you securely store this recovery phrase in a convenient wallet that lets you sign transactions securely. But at the end of the day, you're not dependent on Ledger after you have the 24-word recovery phrase. This is your key to everything. You can take this wherever you want. Any wallet that adheres to the same standard that our wallet does, which is pretty much all wallets, and have access to your funds. So that's the beauty of self-custody. Cool. And it looks like KTube was asking some questions about Bitcoin account types that Ledger, that our mod picked up. So great. All right. Well, we are a little bit over time here. I'll go back to the main shot. I hope that everybody enjoyed again. I had a great time. I hope that you all walk away with some valuable information and you feel a little bit more confident after going through this onboarding. Please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you're up to date when we come out with more live shows. We will be, our European team does their own shows as well. So if European time works a little bit better for you, be sure to go over to our page and check out some of the times that we have for European shows. They do live onboardings as well, and they do their own AMAs as well. So we are, for the US times, the next time we will be live is next Wednesday. We will be doing a Ask Me Anything session live at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you have any questions at all, Ledger related or Web3 related, please feel free to join that show. It's scheduled now, so you can click Remind Me so that you get reminded when that show is live. So feel free to hop in there and ask any questions, and I hope you all enjoyed today's show. So thanks again, everybody. Please remember to keep that recovery phrase safe. Never give it out to anybody. If you have any questions, you can submit questions at support.ledger.com. I'll put it right here in the chat. You are more than welcome to submit a ticket here anytime that you have questions about your Ledger hardware wallet or just Web3 in general. We're happy to help. So thanks again, everybody. Keep your 24 words safe, and remember, not your keys, not your crypto. We'll see you next time.